When you really stop and think about it, your whole life is basically just the sum of all your choices. Every single one, from what you had for breakfast to those huge, life-changing ones, they all add up to who you are. So today, we're going to dig into the science and art of making those choices smarter. Yeah, questions like these: shall I move house? Apply for that new job? Should I make that investment? We've all been there, right? Staring at these massive, super complex questions. And look, they can be exciting for sure, but they can also be incredibly stressful. I mean, these are the kinds of decisions that can literally change the whole trajectory of your life. So, how do most of us actually tackle these big questions? Come on, let's be honest. Most of us kind of just wing it, right? We follow our gut, cross our fingers, and just hope for the best. But what if I told you there's a much better way? Because all the research shows that great decisions don't just happen by accident. Nope, they're the result of a process. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about building that system. Here's a blueprint that's going to take you from pure guesswork to actually getting a great outcome. Okay, so when experts and researchers look at this is kind of what they see. They map out decision-making as this really structured, multi-stage process. And I know, this looks super complex, right? But don't worry, the core idea behind all of this is actually really simple. Good decisions follow a logical path. It's not just a random guess. So let's just take that crazy-looking diagram and boil it all down into a super practical 4-step blueprint that you can use like today. Step 1. Define your problem and your goals. What are you really trying to solve here, and what does a perfect outcome look like for you? Step 2, identify all the alternatives, and I mean all of them, not just the 2 obvious ones. Step 3, evaluate those options against the goals you just set. And finally, step 4, choose, act on it, and, this is key, review how it went later on, so you can learn for next time. All right, so now that we have our blueprint, let's talk about the tools you're going to put in your decision-making toolbox. It turns out the absolute best decisions combine 2 really powerful forces: hard data and that good old gut feeling. So think of it like this. On one side, you've got your analytic thinking. That's the facts. This is all about logic, data, weighing the pros and cons. It's your conscious, deliberate reasoning, your brain. Then, on the other side, you've got associative thinking. These are the feelings. This comes from your intuition, all your past experiences, and those immediate gut reactions. Your heart, basically. So, which one's better, head or heart? Well, the real answer is you absolutely need both. It's not a competition. In fact, a 2023 study found that the very best decisions, the ones with the best outcomes, happen when we integrate both of those sources. And for that analytical part, the head part of the equation, there are some classic tools you can pull out. Things like a cost-benefit analysis, which is great for financial stuff. A SWOT analysis, that's where you map out your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Even a simple pros and cons list can be super effective. Or a decision tree, which helps you kind of visualize where each choice might lead. Okay, so theory is all well and good, but let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world, right? We're going to look at 2 case studies now, one personal, one from the business world, to really see how using a process and good data leads to winning outcomes. First up, let's talk about a huge personal decision that pretty much everyone faces at some point: choosing where to move. And look, a successful move isn't just about finding a cool neighborhood with a great coffee shop. It's about your long-term happiness and, let's be honest, avoiding a really expensive mistake. So what kind of data actually makes a difference here? Well, studies show that the people who end up happiest with their move didn't just go with how a place felt. They dug into the hard evidence. We're talking about things like police-recorded crime stats for the specific streets they were looking at, local house price indexes to see if it was a good long-term investment, official data on how the schools are performing. Basically, they used all this data to back up or challenge the gut feelings they got when they visited in person. And the result? It was crystal clear. Using this kind of hard, objective evidence made people way more confident and reassured in their final choice. It helped them dodge a bullet, avoiding areas that might have looked great on the surface but had some serious underlying problems. Okay, now for our business example. Have you ever had one of those days where you were just busy all day long, but at the end of it, you feel like you accomplished absolutely nothing important? Well, you might have been caught in something called the smaller tasks trap. It's this psychological thing where we're drawn to knocking out easy, low-value tasks just because it feels good to check something off the list, while we put off the harder, more important stuff. So, to study this, researchers set up a simple game. People could choose between two kinds of tasks. The small task took just 1 unit of effort, and you'd get 5 points of profit. The large task, on the other hand, took 5 times the effort, but, and this is the important part, it gave you 50 points of profit. That's 10 times the reward. So who do you think won the game? It wasn't the people who did the most tasks, not at all. The top performers, the real winners, were the ones who actually analyzed the data. They looked at the cost-benefit ratio, the profit they got for each unit of work they put in. And the data was clear. The large task gave them double the return on their effort. They learned to ignore that satisfying feeling of being busy and focused instead on what truly maximized their value.
All right, so let's put this all together. What's the winning formula here? It really boils down to 3 key things you need to remember.
Number 1, follow a process. Seriously, having a structure reduces so much stress and uncertainty. Using a simple blueprint like that 4-step model we talked about literally transforms chaos into clarity. Number 2, combine your data and your intuition. Use the hard facts to narrow down your options and to really challenge your own assumptions. But then listen to your gut to help make that final call. The absolute most powerful choices happen when your head and your heart are pointing in the same direction. And finally, number 3, master your emotions. This is huge. Before you make any big decision, just take a second and check in with yourself. Are you feeling super optimistic? Maybe you're ignoring some real risks. Are you feeling really anxious? You might be overlooking some amazing opportunities. Just acknowledging your emotional state can help you make sure your judgment stays clear. Because in the end, your life really is the sum of all your decisions, the big ones and the small ones. So the real question isn't if you're going to face another tough choice, because you know you are. The real question is, what choice will you master next?